I have a mic here today because I'm announcing my 2025 Superlative or Book Awards. I did this last year, which I'll have linked above, and I haven't changed any categories. I believe there's 15 different categories, but we're gonna jump right into the award ceremony. Hey y'all, welcome to or welcome back to my channel, Scottie Cherie Reads. Jumping right into category one, which is best debut, which is near and dear to my heart. I love reading authors' first books. The little caveat about this category is that this is not specifically debut authors or books that came out in 2025. I just didn't read enough of them this past year, so anything 2025 or before, it just has to be their first book. So let's jump right into the three nominees, which are The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim, Julie Chan is Dead by Leanne Zhang, and The Lamb by Lucy Rose. And the winner for this category shouldn't be much of a surprise because if you've watched my best books of 2025, which is linked up above, it was very up there in the top three, I believe, in my favorite books of the year. And that is The Lamb by Lucy Rose. So we're not going to get into too many specifics with the book Superlatives just because this video would be way too long, but quickly, The Lamb is Lucy Rose's first novel, and I was insanely blown away. As you guys can see, these tabs here, I marked so much of this book up just for beautiful writing. The premise is that we are following Margot and her mother, Mama, who live in the woods, and basically they're cannibals. That's not a spoiler, and that's all you need to know. They eat strays, people in the woods that, their car breaks down, XYZ. They come in, they make them comfortable, and then they eat them. And that's the overall premise. It gets crazy from there. My heart goes out to Margot anytime I think about this book. But yeah, I can't wait for the next thing that Lucy Rose puts out. This debut was fantastic. Pick it up if you haven't. Jumping into category number two, which is the most nostalgic, meaning that it gives you those childhood, fun, happy feels. The three nominees for this category are The In-Between Bookstore by Edward Underhill, Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, and When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. And I think the obvious winner, if you've read this book, is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. I read The Hunger Games as they came out. I believe it started my freshman year of high school, 2009, I believe. I'll put it down below, 2008, 2009, and I loved it. This year, I reread the whole trilogy. I read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes for the first time, and then I picked up the new release, Sunrise on the Reaping, which is a prequel that tells the story of Haymitch's games. And Haymitch was one of my favorite characters. I think he's one of everyone's favorite characters, and this book did not disappoint. If you didn't like Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes like a lot of people, and you just feel like you didn't want to read this next one, definitely pick up Sunrise on the Reaping. It was so much better than President Snow's story, and yeah, it gave me all of the feels that I had when I was in high school reading this for the first time. It was great. Category three is the book that's the most likely to break your heart. The nominees are Nobody's Girl by Virginia Roberts Giuffre, The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie, and Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. So let me just start by saying I shed tears in all three of these books, so all three of them are going to be tearjerkers, but the one that really broke my heart was Nobody's Girl by Virginia Roberts Giuffre. If you don't know that name, this is one of Epstein and Maxwell's victims, one of the most outspoken victims. This is her memoir and story of what happened to her. And unfortunately, when this book was released in 2025, I think right before the book release, she actually took her own life. So she put this book out there, and then I guess it just became too much for her, and, she's not with us anymore. So that's just sad to know when you're reading this book that, she's not here anymore. And on top of that, from what you can imagine that happened in this sex trafficking ring, there is other trauma that this woman has dealt with since a very, very young age. So I think everyone should read this, and I think it's an imperative read, but definitely check all your trigger warnings. It doesn't shy away from anything. She's very open and honest and descriptive into what happened to her. But it totally broke my heart, and I'm glad that I read, and I think the more people need to pick it up. Category number 4 is the most surprising. And this means not necessarily like shock value or twist. It means the most surprising to me personally with how much I actually enjoyed the book. So the nominees for this category are This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan, She's Always Hungry by Eliza Clark, and When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. The winner of most surprising book is When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. This was my first Nat Cassidy that I read this year, and I didn't know what to expect. I knew looking on the cover, there's a little werewolf there. It's called When the Wolf Comes Home. I assumed it was going to be a werewolf story. I haven't read a lot of werewolf stories outside of like Twilight way back in the day. So I just heard great things about this author and just picked it up through Aardvark. It released last year, and this was a top read. I was so blown away by this. It was super fun, fast paced. I didn't know how to put it down. And at the end, I was crying from this horror book, which I was not expecting at all. The daddy issue talks in here were very relatable. I think a lot of people can relate to them, unfortunately. Nat Cassidy also wrote an afterword that was very meaningful and the reason why he wrote this book. And I could just relate to him and his relationship with his father very well. So yeah, I can't wait to pick up Mary or Nestlings or anything else by Nat Cassidy soon. I was so blown away by this book. Category number 5 is the most disappointing. So this is a book that I thought was going to be one of my favorites, and ultimately it was either just fine or I absolutely didn't like it. So the 3 nominees are Incidents Around the House by Josh Mallerman, The Unworthy by Augustina Bastarrica, and Girl Interrupted by Susanna Kaysen. And unfortunately, the winner of most disappointing is Incidents Around the House by Josh Mallerman. This book sounded like it was gonna scare the mess out of me. It is told from a kid's perspective, and this child can see this entity called Other Mommy. And Other Mommy she's the only, like the kid is the only person who can see Other Mommy, and Other Mommy keeps asking, can I get into your heart? Can I have your heart? It sounds so scary, but I don't know what it was, but this writing was so elementary. At points where I thought that I was going to be scared with having to turn the lights on at night because the premise sounded so scary. I was literally laughing throughout this book. I think I gave this book 1.5 or 2 stars. It just wasn't worth it. I don't think I'm going to read anything by Josh Mallerman. Yeah, it was not good. I was really sad about it. Category number 6 is the book that was the most fun to read. Nominees are Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zing by Kylie Lee Baker, Julie Chan is Dead by Leanne Zhang, and Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wang. And the winner is Julie Chan is Dead. I had so much fun with this. It reminded me a little of Bunny by Mona Awad, which was one of my favorites a couple years ago. The premise of this is that there is our main character who is a twin. Although she doesn't really know her twin, they were kind of separated at birth. They don't know each other very well. And the twin is actually a big known influencer, and she dies. So then our main character chooses to live the life of her twin, and she meets her influencer friends, and things just get kind of fever dreamy and weird as the book goes on. I had a lot of fun with it. I just gave it kind of like a 3.5 star. It was okay. Like, I don't think it's gonna be memorable for a long time. I think that Bunny stands with me a lot more than this one did. But as I was reading it, I had a blast. The cult aspect of it was really interesting, and it was just a fun time. Yeah, pick it up if you're interested. It's a quick read. Category number 7 is my overall new favorite author, and that means new to me that I've read in 2025 that I hadn't read beforehand. There are actually 4 in this category, and those nominees are Percival Everett. I read The Trees from him this year. Nat Cassidy, I read When the Wolf Comes Home. Eliza Clark, I read She's Always Hungry. And Lucy Rose, and I read The Lamb. And I know that it's a little early to say new favorite author after only reading one book by them, but I feel confident to say that Percival Everett is a new favorite author for me. The Trees was a remarkable mystery thriller where we're following 2 detectives in Mississippi, racist Mississippi, and there is a death that happens, but when they show up to the scene, there's a second body that's very reminiscent of Emmett Till. Weird, right? They don't know how it's gotten there. And then as time goes on, this similar body shows up at other murder scenes or death scenes in the country. and we're trying to figure out what's going on. Is there a superstitious element? Is what's happening? And Percival Everett can take humor and serious topics and mesh them together like I've never experienced before. I didn't think that I would like satire very much in my books, but Percival Everett completely proved me wrong. I can't wait to pick up the next book. I believe James is what I'm going to pick up next in February for Black History Month, so stay tuned for my thoughts for that. Category number 8 is Best Cover Art, and the nominees are You Weren't Meant to Be Human by Andrew Joseph White, Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson, and The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. And my favorite cover of this year was Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. As you can see here, I really like the colors, the pastel colors of the flowers. I like the woman that's here. I don't know, it just does something for me. Yeah, it really fits the prose of this book as well, because the writing was just beautiful, just like this cover. So yeah, that's the winner of that category. Category number 9, we have the best plot twist. So all of these have a plot twist if you're a person who's looking for that in their books. But the nominees for the best of 2025 are King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby, The Trees by Percival Everett, and The Scammer by Tiffany D. Jackson. And the winner for me is actually the last book that I read in 2025, and that is The Scammer by Tiffany D. Jackson. This book was just okay for me, but the twist at the end definitely had my jaw on the floor. The premise of this book is that we are following our main character, Jordan, who is going to college. She's going to a HBCU. She comes from a very whitewashed background, and she decided in college she wants to go to an HBCU, get immersed in Black culture. Cool. She finds these her sweet mates, they're getting together, they're having a good time, they're getting to know each other, she's loving her time there, and one of her sweet mates' brother actually gets out of jail and kind of crashes on their couch for a couple of days. But then it turns into weeks and months, and he kind of forms this cult kind of in this school, and things just go from there. So very interesting. It's a very quick read. Not my favorite of Tiffany D. Jackson, but I think it's worth a shot, and the plot twist will definitely have you surprised. Category number 10, we have the most unique or experimental writing or storytelling. The nominees are Earthlings by Suyaka Murata, Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon, and Strange Pictures by Uketsu. So all three of these are very weird in their own way, but for me personally, I had to pick Earthlings. I can't even go into what this story is, but this was the first book that I read, and I think by page 20, I literally exclaimed what the fuck is going on? It's such a weird story. It's really uncomfortable. Read your trigger warnings if you're a sensitive reader and need that, because it just was such a weird taboo story. I don't know what else to say, but that I hadn't read anything like this. I don't know if I want to read anything like this again. Yeah, it was weird. If you know, you know. Category number 11, we have the best setting or most immersive writing. The nominees are Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wang, Beartown by Frederick Bachman, and The Good House by Tanana Reeve Dew. This one was very difficult, but I ultimately had to pick Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wang. Even though this book wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be, I thought that this was going to be a 5-star read. Everyone and their mother says how great this book is. There were some infuriating things for me in this book, and it felt a little on the nose with some of the themes, specifically feminist themes that are in this book. But I can say that the plot had me captivated, and the setting, I could visualize this story and what was going on in this fantasy world insanely well. I read it very quickly. I had a good time. I think it's just not going to be as memorable as some other books, but I'm glad that I read it. Yeah, when I was in the book, I was in the book. I could visualize it. I could see everything. Yeah, the writing in terms of the setting and immersion into this world was done very well. Category number 12 is a book that's worth the hype. And the nominees are King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby, Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey, and Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. So, funny enough, all three of these are worth the hype in my opinion. So pick any of the three up, but the ultimate winner for me had to go to Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. I picked this one because the hype for the Hunger Games is like none other. It's like the Hunger Games, Harry Potter, Twilight. These are millions and millions of people have read these books, so the hype is always going to be there, regardless if it's an actually good written book or not. I also put this here as the winner because I didn't really like The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is President Snow's sequel that came out before this one. So I went into this a little hesitantly, but I'm here to say it's worth the hype. I know when this came out earlier in 2025, there were a lot of videos of people bawling their eyes out on camera about the ending of this book, and believe it, this tore my heart up, but in the best way possible. It's so good. Pick it up if you haven't. All right, switching it up here. Category number 13 is a book that is not worth the hype. The nominees for this category are Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan, and No Exit by Taylor Adams. Hands down, I have to do No Exit by Taylor Adams. I was very disappointed with the other two in this category as well, but this I feel like is objectively just not a good book. I don't think the writing is very good. It's very elementary. It's a basic thriller. I mean, as it says on the back here, 13 hours, 4 strangers, 1 missing child, no exit. She knows her odds. She'll fight anyway. Just, yeah, bad. Literally pick up any other mystery thriller and you'll be thrilled more than this book. It didn't make any sense. I don't know, there's a movie adaptation that I haven't watched, so do with that what you will, but I do not recommend this at all. Category number 14, we have the best book for a book club or the most thought-provoking book. The 3 nominees are Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey, Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green, and Recitative by Toni Morrison. So, same for this category. All 3 of these are thought-provoking, so any of them would be great book club picks. But the winner ultimately has to be Recitative by Toni Morrison. It is a short story, actually, less than like 50 pages, but I have not stopped thinking about this book since I picked it up. This is kind of an experiment of race. We follow 2 girls and they kind of run into each other at various points in their lives. They know each other from childhood, and they seem like when they meet, they're on kind of opposite ends of various arguments. And the point of this book is that Toni Morrison says that one of the girls is black and one of the girls is white, but Toni Morrison never has explained who is who. And you will literally be twisting and turning in your brain of who you think is black and who is white forever. You're never going to have an answer. And you can, it's just genius. I don't know how else to explain this. Just pick it up and let's talk about it in the comments. It's so good. We've made it to the last category, category number 15. And that is a book that is the most likely to become a classic. 3 nominees for this category are Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey, A Short Stay in Hell by Stephen L. Peck, and The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa. Surprising to me, the winner is A Short Stay in Hell by Stephen L. Peck. We have another little novella that's only 100 pages long, and the writing for this is funny, yet insanely thought-provoking, and it will have you thinking about the meaning of life in an almost uncomfortable way. We follow our main character, Soren, who's a Mormon, and at the beginning of the story, we realize that he has died and he has gone to hell. However, this hell is a different hell than what he imagined, and there's this demon thing that ultimately sends people to their own, personal hell. His personal hell is a vast library, and it's not forever technically. He has a mission, and while he's in this personal hell library, his objective is to find the book that tells his life story. So this is an infinite, in whatever way we want to think of the term infinite, which it will spin your brain with reading this book. He's just wandering through and trying to find this story of his life so that he can now move on to the next thing. Whether that's heaven, we don't really know. It doesn't really go into it. That's not the point. The point is to understand what infinity means, what forever means, and yeah, my head was spinning. I need more people to pick this up. I feel like it's gaining a little bit of traction. But yeah, it's a quick read, pick it up, it'll have your mind reeling. I think that this is done immaculately well, and I think that it'll be around and people will talk about it for centuries. All right, Those are Scottie Cherie Reads 2025 Book Awards. Let me know if you've read any of these books down below, if you plan on picking some up. I suggest most of these. This is one of my favorite videos of the year to film, so thank you for sticking around. As always, if you like what you saw here, please subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. And let's chat in the comments until my next video. Talk soon.